is Ruckus. Thanks for joining. Please like, subscribe, and share. 10-8. Hey, how's everybody doing? Let me get this chat lined up here and get it where it needs to be. I'm not going to talk too long here. And I want to get the guest on as soon as I can. I know today's a busy day, especially for Meow, so I don't want to tie her up all day. And Tim donating his time is absolutely amazing. I appreciate everything that he's doing for us, and this is a big favor to me, and I appreciate him being here. And you guys all, of course, know Coach Kev. So without further ado, I'm going to bring them in. I'll try and catch the hellos as we go, but I want to get into this as soon as possible. Okay, everybody is familiar with everybody here. We've got Meow, we've got Tim Corbett, and we have Coach Kev in the house. And I couldn't ask for anything better than that. We're going to be talking about the Flora case and what each one of us, I'm not going to talk too much because I have a half a brain compared to these folks. So I'm going to let them do most of the talking. If you guys would, starting with you, Meow, if you would let everybody who doesn't know who you are, please.
Yeah, I'm Meow. I kind of didn't mean to find this case about a year ago, but we got a lot of there was a lot of documents that I found. Didn't seem like a lot of media had covered it, and I felt like there was a huge disservice kind of happening. And I thought it was really interesting to see that how much the media has been censored around it. I'm not sure why. And I found Gaylin, and she was in such an awful place. And I've been so inspired to see her grow. And this isn't about me; it's about Gaylin. And honestly, I kind of like give this all to Gaylin. And in the end, I really hope that this is able to get justice for her, and we're able to see some closure for her on this case.
Okay, Tim, if you'd like to introduce yourself, please, sir.
My name's Tim Corbett. I've been a police officer for 48 years. I'm presently retired, but I have volunteering my time to a cold case homicide unit in Mishawaka, Indiana. I also have a private investigation business, and I'm not looking for a commercial or anything like that. I'm just giving you my background. I've handled well over 1,000 deaths, put over 400 people in prison for just murders. That doesn't count the burglars and armed robbers and rapists and child molesters and all the rest of the scum that have been put in prison. I'm old school. If I tell everybody, if you're looking for a tree hugging whale saving earth muffin, I am not the guy you want to deal with. I am your best friend. If I'm on your team, I'm your worst nightmare if I'm coming after you. When I heard about this case, 4 little babies being burned up, I got a lot of veins in my head, but a new one popped out hearing about it, and I wanted to get involved because first I want to see if it is an arson. Secondly, if somebody was involved, or obviously somebody's involved, if it is an arson, then I want to be a part of taking their head off and sending them to prison. So that's my background. I will donate my time. I'll donate my efforts. But again, I'm very aggressive. I'm fair. I'm honest. I don't do anything dirty, but I'm aggressive. And if that's not something people want, then certainly find someone else. So that's my background.
Thank you, Tim. And I'm certainly glad that I made your acquaintance through Sleuth. You're awesome. I've looked at some of the things that you've worked on. Very impressive. You are tenacious, and that doesn't even scratch the surface, I don't think. Kev,
Well,
tell
I'm
us.
realistic. nobody's going to hire me to be a greeter at Walmart, and I've seen myself naked, so I know the adult film industry doesn't want me. And I sure as hell didn't pay enough attention in high school, so I kind of do this pretty well, so I'm going to stick with it.
They used my naked pictures on the back of medicine bottles to induce vomiting in case ingestion. All right, Kev, introduce yourself, please.
Well, hi everybody. I'm Coach Kev. My name is Kevin Kovach. I'm a firefighter in McKeesport, Pennsylvania. We're about 12 miles east of Pittsburgh. We have currently a 32-man department. We run last year we ran 1,700 calls. We run about 90 house fires a year. That's very busy. No medical, hardly any medical at all. The union president, freshly elected. I always had like a little bit of a curiosity with the true crime genre. Did I do something? Did someone give you money, Ruckus? It wasn't me, was it?
No, that was you getting elected union president.
Oh. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. So I kind of came in like a lot of us did, I think, on Delphi, where you're kind of looking up stuff on YouTube and Delphi. What is this? So I got on that. Then I heard about Flora. And naturally, Flora like pulled me to it. You know what I mean? I'm not the person that's going to crack this case. But for me, this case getting cracked is very important. I saw what happened. There was a lot of things early on being said about it. I think I could cut through a lot of this shit and tell you the fire tactics that they were employing, whether they worked or not. We were able to discover them, unfortunately, bringing the girls out. We saw that on a live, actually, because I had such tunnel vision on the fire development. But I hope I could teach you a little about fire development. We learned gray smoke, white smoke's good. Means you're putting water on it. Black smoke, brown smoke, smoke under pressure is bad. So hopefully, we could do a little of that. But, I'm so excited for this week. I'm happy to have Tim, Meow. Meow's like kind of the straw that stirs the drink for all this. Gaylin's been on. And I'm just excited that everyone's getting involved. Ruckus, thank you for doing this. And it's enough about me. Let's get down to business here. Ruck, what do you say?
I'm down with you, brother. Down like 4 flat tires. Tim, if you could ask one question just to start off the investigation, what would it be?
Is this an arson? And it's kind of a continuing question, but is this an arson, and how do you know it's an arson?
I can answer that, I think.
Please.
Well, I think that I've had the most, I know that obviously Coach Kev has probably the most fire experience. I've spoken with the fire investigators on this case, and they all very unanimously agree. It was never the refrigerator. It was never any of that. But one of the things I kind of wanted to point to was let me see if I might have it in my documents right here, actually. But when they did the experiment, so they basically recreated the whole fire scenario, and they were not able to recreate the circumstances with that home, with that, basically with those materials, without that being arson with an accelerant present. They cannot produce that heat. So the heat, that's one thing that's so unique about basically too much heat for the situation does point investigators to think it's arson. So there was no plausible way that could be natural under normal circumstances without that having been. And it's so obvious in the report because you can see that there is the trend that the fire went, and there's the trend that a normal fire would go, and there's the trend with the accelerant. And what the house fire demonstrated, that 3:30 to 4 a.m. when it was taken out, was more consistent based on the temperature and the melting of materials within that home. Was almost perfectly consistent with an accelerant. Sorry.
Well, that to me is the key issue right there. If it's a natural fire, then it's a tragic event, no doubt about it. But if now we can show and prove that it is for sure an arson, now you have you have arson and you have 4 counts of murder. Doesn't make any difference what your target is or what you were trying to do. 4 people died in the commission of that act that, whoever did. So that's the kind of stuff that you need to start it off with. You sure don't want to spin your wheels on something that is not a homicide.
Here, let me read a quote. This is just the determination from the fire origin report. So, if you guys are you guys cool with that?
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Investigators determined the origin of the fire in the south enclosed porch area, that the doorway to the kitchen had been nearly fully open at the time of the fire. That's according to the report of Michael Vergon and the report of Indiana State Fire Marshal. They concluded that the fire was caused by intentional ignition of combustible materials, and that an ignitable liquid may have been utilized to facilitate and enhance rapid flame spread. An incendiary fire scenario in the rear porch area would have resulted in the rapid fire growth, development, and the possible use of ignitable liquid would have rendered any pre-growth incipient phase negligible and constituted very fast fire growth. And then all the smoke alarms, as you know, they kind of just melted to the ground, which indicates a very high temperature. So this is the temperature that we're looking at right here. So it goes up exponentially at that point, that we start seeing the just because of the open doorway in the back. Does that help?
If I could add a couple of things too, and I want to start on the arson thing. So Doug Carter and the Indiana State Police have stated in multiple interviews trying to talk to the suspect, and I believe that they have an idea who did this, but they don't have enough proof. That's a theory of mine. I have no proof of that. But he said, whoever started this fire, we don't believe you tried to kill the girls. So to me, it's an arson, and I'm going to say this on the air. The mudroom in the back had a hit for an accelerant. The original fire investigator, Tim, and this is what's going to drive you nuts, was a guy named Dennis Randall. Dennis Randall said that there was multiple accelerants throughout the house. He tried to push a narrative out on a Saturday morning afternoon, and his narrative was so full of shit that these investigators said that how he determined the fire was multiple points of origin, not multiple points of origin, but multiple accelerants. He did not use the investigative method. So multiple investigators emailed the state, the Department of Homeland Defense, and said he's full of shit. And without delving too far in, this is an arson. There was a hit in the back room that supposedly only the homeowners had access to. And if Meow, correct me if I'm wrong on that. I don't want to call it a mud room, because around here a mud room is something different. Maybe a utility room. Meow, is that how you would describe that back room?
Well, so actually, yeah. So Chief Dennis Randall of the Indiana State Fire Marshal concluded the fire initiated within the south interior stairway that connects the first floor apartment to the south exterior garage and basement area. That's according to his report ID. And then and the basement area referenced the quote mudroom or enclosed back porch in figure 1, which that's the layout of the home. He reported that 2 doors were expected to be closed and locked. Both were found unlocked, and one leading to the back porch to the kitchen was left partially open. Chief Randall, so I think that's talking about Adam Randall, concluded the fire was incendiary and resulted from an ignited pour of ignitable liquid to the steps of the back porch and possibly the kitchen and dining room areas as well.
Now, yesterday, Meow, didn't Gaylin say you could gain access to that area through the garage door that was broken? You could lift it and gain access to that area. Anybody could.
Yeah.
That's the first time I ever heard that. That was yesterday.
And that door being open, that back door being open.
It's something new that I'm like, wait.
Yeah, I was talking about that back door being open, how important that is to fire growth and development. That causes the chimney effect. So you have air, and the best accelerant you can add to a fire, I can't stress this enough, is atmospheric air, because it never runs out. So if you pop a window out, you have air for as long as the world lasts, as opposed to gasoline or diesel, which is eventually going to burn off. but that caused a chimney effect that sucked that through that house. And if you watch that video, when the guy takes that window, I noticed that right away. Within 2 seconds, the stairs off gas, they catch on fire, and then you get that giant plume. And that might not have happened if that back door wasn't open, but we don't know. We don't know if that was ever closed. Like Tim, none of this is out.
Closed it.
Gaylin
always closed that.
It's frustrating as hell. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated.
Now, what do you think of that, Tim, as far as the accelerant issue with the back door being open?
Well, the accelerant issue, what was the accelerant? Was it gasoline? Was it petroleum based? What exactly is it? I'd want to know that for sure, because one of the things the defense attorney is going to say, well, how do we know one of the kids did knock over the Wesson oil, and that's what was all over the floor, and there was a candle, and it's the same thing with defense. They're always going to what if. They want all the shiny things in the air, so you pay attention to that and not the facts. So you have to eliminate all those things. So the goal is, when you eliminate all that, they don't have a defense to go to. And here's what needs to happen. Here is what's going to happen to your guy. So if I'm involved in that, I'm eliminating all of that. Anybody in that house needs.
Well, I assume that's something that only the killer will know. That they will not release what that one accelerant that was detected was, but they have confirmed that they have detected accelerant in one location.
And that was from the lab.
But that's what I'm getting at. What is the accelerant?
I have my own theories, but I don't think
they won't tell us for sure. Tim, if there's any way you could dig that out somehow, the accelerant, that would help me too a little bit. But we have not been told for sure what it is.
Okay. That if it was sent off for chemical analysis to Indiana State Police Lab, they would have that, and they'd be able to tell you if it was petroleum based or exactly what it is.
Yeah. Hydrocarbon. I know there's talk of acetones and stuff like that too, which is like nail polish. But nothing has ever been told us like exactly what it was.
I do think it's a hydrocarbon, and I think that it was alkaline, because what was found on Yoder was alkaline. Yeah. And I do think that there was something about it that made it like a halogenated hydrocarbon. I know we're getting into the chemistry here, but what Drew's burns to his lungs or needing to be on a ventilator is that's an atypical escalation of care for someone who's just having a burn injury. That's deep burns that goes down to the molecular level, kind of like phosgene. How phosgene reacts with like water in the lungs. It causes it to turn into hydrochloric acid, and therefore it becomes corrosive to the lung tissue. That's why I've noticed that it's very abnormal that Gaylin had corneal burns. That's something consistent with an alkaline pyrolysis gas. So that's more chemical. That's a unique chemistry there.
Well, I can tell you, I saw, I don't know if it was a partial, it appeared to be the autopsy, but what I saw written was poor at the very best. There was no weighing of, heart, lungs, spleen, nothing in this particular report. And if that's the quality of the autopsy, I have concerns for that. Now, maybe there's additional paperwork or what, I don't know, but is it true? Does anybody know for a fact, not guessing or theories or anything, does anybody know for a fact if this case has been sealed and nobody can get to it?
Yeah, it's sealed.
There's also some suing going on, or civil case. Maybe y'all can talk about. It's also intertwined with this, Tim. You might not know about that, the civil case.
I had heard about the civil part, but maybe that's why it is sealed. But I'll try and find
There are
out more about
federal
that.
investigators that are involved in it. That's why there is a bit of a secrecy to it, because I know that multiple federal investigators have polygraphed people that were part of certain groups in the area. They are having to have a little bit of like gang intelligence in that. So you can see why it would probably there would be a little bit of secrecy around those sort of things, especially in that area. Um, so I'm sure
Now,
you understand.
has there ever been an explanation why the girls were not taken to the hospital?
Nope, not a single one. And excuse me for a second. Let me take this one. And I know people have said other things. So you had 4 girls that you removed that you thought had a chance to be alive. So you worked them outside. When I mean work them, CPR, AED, whatever it is you can do. And when you bring someone out of a house to give them first aid or CPR, you put them on the ground. You don't look for a soft place. You have to get air in their lungs that are going to die. So they attempted this with the girls. Now, whatever with the girls, you can look at the autopsy reports, and I don't want to get into this because I have theories about whatever happened. But some were alive, some weren't. I don't believe they all were when they came out, but they were enough to work them. At some point, someone made a decision to put those 4 girls in body bags and transport them to the fire station floor. So they're taking murder victims and they're putting them in body bags, which came from who knows where, and they're putting them in there and they're taking them out of there. We cannot confirm that anybody high enough to pronounce them dead was on that scene. We have not been able to confirm that. Was there a doctor? Who was there? In
Especially with
Pennsylvania,
kids.
in
They are
Pennsylvania, the only way that a medic can call someone is if they're decapitated or if they are like mummified, basically.
exactly. They
So
have to have like postmortem changes or they're decapitated. That's the
it's
only way you can
absolute
rule a child
bullshit, is
as
what it
dead.
is. It's just bullshit. And listen, whoever moved those bodies should be charged with contaminating crime, whatever you want to charge them with. I asked police officers, I asked the Allegheny County Fire Marshal, Don Brucker, the boss, if I did that, what would you do to me? He says, you'd be going down ACJ and bracelets. I would have to. I wouldn't have a choice. You're going to move a dead body. So no one can explain that away from me. Nobody. And I got to tell you something, excuse my language, but motherfuckers better be charged for this, whether they're firemen or cops or mayors, it doesn't matter. That we're not even talking about the dignity of human life. We're talking about the law. Now let's talk about the dignity of human life. Let's take 4 little girls and put them in body bags and set them on the floor of the fire station. These people are from a different planet than me, man. There's no way that can be explained to me ever. Sorry, I'm going to get off my soapbox and turn it back over to you. But to me, that is the single thing that makes me want to makes me want to hurt people. Sorry.
And if I could just take 1 second here, scrolling across the bottom, guys, is the Cash app for Meow and also for Gaylin. The merch that Meow's selling, I linked it on my community page. The proceeds from that are going towards getting headstones for the girls. So please, I'm not looking for super stickers or anything today. I'd rather see you do a Cash app to either Meow, who will get it to Gaylin, or directly to Gaylin. If you want to help, I appreciate that.
Yeah, Gaylin, she's really, she's trying to make ends meet. She works she does customer service right now. She's trying to get her GED. I'm just proud of her, like finally, being able to live independently. And you could even see that, like, when she joins our lives, she has all these kids running around. So she helps, her sister take care of her, and so these are her nephews. But I can't imagine with that, like that. One of her nephews just got stage 4 to 5 cancer this year. So like they have just really had hell handed to them, and just seeing like how they are very, very, they're perseverant, but they don't understand like what the fuck is going on with this case. And like, why aren't we hearing anything? Why would they not even hear back from the state police? That's one of those things. They don't get any information, kind of like Carrie Timmons with the Delphi case. They don't get any information.
It's crazy.
Tim, what do you think about them moving bodies? And so the fire chief, if I'm not mistaken, the fire chief stated, well, there's a rule for temporary morgue, but that rule's in a state of emergency. You see things like that happen in Katrina. Not this is a simple incident. It's a horrible incident, but it's not a complex incident. It's a residential structure fire. It's a house that's split into 2 units, but it's one house. It's a simple incident. You do
It's a
not
multi-fatality
temporarily.
incident. It's not but it's not an emergency. You're right.
It's not a state of emergency where there's a flood or tornado where you have mass casualties and you have to try to put them somewhere for moral reasons, but for public health too. And so, Tim, have you ever heard of anything? I can't talk to a police officer or a firefighter anywhere, and I've talked to probably hundreds about this. They've never heard of anything like moving bodies before.
No, I can honestly say I have not. And if you're taking the bodies to the fire department, you're taking the bodies there because you believe they're deceased, correct?
Yeah,
They're
from what I
deceased. They're
yeah.
they're deceased at the scene. You've made that determination because you've called for a body bag. You've taken them someplace else. Um, that body is a crime scene. No matter how distasteful that is, that body is a crime scene, and you have to protect that crime scene. Much like you post people up at the front door and the back door, and you don't let people go walking in and out and contaminating it. Uh, that's whoever made that decision is an idiot.
And then, Tim, we can't find out who pronounced them dead. So you went from being worked, where they're giving you CPR, and you don't go to a hospital. I've never in my life heard of a case where they attempted to give someone CPR, and then they died. We're going to pronounce them dead here. You can't call a doctor on the fender, so you have to bring them in. You attempted
You could
CPR.
intubate. You could try to intubate.
I don't understand that. No.
And
Well,
even
you certainly you work them. You work them all the way to the hospital, and then you let the
Exactly.
hospital with more equipment, more skill, more ability, pick it up from there. And then that's going to be, unless it's a situation like what we've talked about, mummified remains and decapitations, obvious signs of death, all those kinds of things. But work them all the way there, especially kids. I mean, that's just what we do. Yeah, I mean, I don't know any cop or fireman or first responder, anybody that's got a heart that sees that and is not going to go that extra step. You're gonna keep pumping that little kid's chest. You're gonna keep doing everything that you possibly can to at least give that baby a fighting chance. When I say baby, I know these kids aren't, 6 months old, but they're babies in my eyes. And um, I can tell you, I know Doug Carter, and some people may agree, some people may not. Doug Carter's a fine man. He's an honest guy. He's a straight up guy. The Delphi case, I volunteered my time for that. For whatever reason, they decided not to take me up on that. They have their own investigators, their own way of doing things. I get all that. A lot of that information in that Delphi, and I'm going off course, but it has to be protected. It just has to be. Not everybody in the world needs to know on Facebook and National Enquirer and Twitter and Twanger and all the other BS things that are out there. It's just not necessary. There's certain things you have to protect, and I get that. This I wish I could sit down and talk to the investigators and go, look, between us boys and the wall, what's going on? But if it's sealed, it's sealed. What I want to find out is what are the criteria of it being sealed? Can nobody speak on the issue? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out.
I know that there's several members of law enforcement, local or otherwise, who want to, but they have been given the order not to.
And there is a gag order, correct?
I don't know whether that's a gag order. I just know that they have been told by their higher ups, by the ISP, it's coming down from them, that they are not allowed to speak to the media on it, because Paul Holes did also try, I think a whole year ago when I first spoke with them, they said Paul Holes was trying to speak with investigators, but they put a blanket order not to speak. And they said, well, it's been 6 years. Why are we not talking about it? It can't hurt. We've never solved it. And I found that to be very genuine from the local investigators. However, I know that the state police feels a little bit wary about the local police.
Now, do you know Kev or Meow, was this ever treated as a crime scene ever, or was it just a fire event?
It to me, so the time that they were there and the little bit that I was able to see, uh, it was not treated like a crime scene that I've ever seen. It was very haphazard. Now I don't know that I don't have the notes and I don't know every step of the way, but just seeing the way that things were strewn about outside, big pieces of stuff. When there's four dead bodies in a house, you don't see big pieces of debris usually go outside unless it's an appliance in another room. What you see is little pieces that you shovel up. And you shovel up because you don't want to take anything. There's even times where you run the shovel and the fire marshal looks in the shovel and says, all right, throw that out the window. All right, throw that out the window. You had guys just carrying stuff out, leaving it around. The house was never secured. The house was never secured. And you had a fight between the fire marshal, Randall, the old man, and the state police, Kim Riley, who I liked as a spokesperson, made a comment about the fire investigator said this and that, and he said, well, he's the fire investigator, we're the police investigators, we handle the case. I don't know if you remember that comment, Meow.
Like I just wanted to add on to it because there's like this big box of all these things that were left for the girls and just items like that are the girls that they haven't taken. And the fact that even when Thomas Frost was at the home, he found a burnt book.
Yeah.
Smells awful. He tried to open it and he put it back in his, he was like, that's gross. But the fact that there was a burnt book at that scene and it's not collected is very odd to me. I recognize that it was determined to be a crime after the fact. They at first thought it was nothing. It was going to be no foul play. I understand that. And in January, the ISP did take over the case. I recognize that as well. And the girls were ruled homicide in May of 2017, which is interesting. Two of them were ruled homicide March. Yeah. And two of them were ruled homicide in May, which is very interesting. I'm not sure why, but what the show was saying, I just noticed this come up. There are too many homicide. There are too many fires for the area. Like, let's compare Monticello, how they actually secured that crime scene by putting up a fence around the area as the ATF came through and the fire investigators came through. They put a fence and caution tape. Just with Flora, they put just caution tape. So you can see that they've at least progressed. They've maybe learned from their mistakes, but it doesn't negate the fact that it wasn't like held up for this case.
Now, Kev, go ahead, Tim.
Has this been absolutely determined to be homicide?
Yes. In May and March, they ruled it as they switched it from accidental to homicide.
And Tim, why do you think they ruled 2 in May and 2 in March? Like they were 2 months apart. What do you think of that, Tim? What could that be?
That one, that's really odd to me. Once they've ruled it homicide, death at the hands of another, then obviously there was something, death at the hands of another, right? That means I did something to you to cause your death. So that lends a lot of credence towards the arson aspect. I'd like to see the autopsies to see if there was any marks on the body, if there are any strike marks on any bones where somebody could have been stabbed or bludgeoned or shot or any of those kinds of things. Or they're saying, I'm sorry?
I have the autopsies that you probably have, but like it is very vague. But we do, the one thing that I focused in on was the fact that they could not get any blood from 3 of the girls. There was no signs of abuse to any of them. They were all alive at the time of the fire. They all have soot inhalation or carbon monoxide discoloration of their organ tissues. And the pre-mortem and post-mortem burns upsets me a lot because I think that's from just insane heat.
And I'll go further to say, I think one of them was shielding the other ones. If you look at where her burns are.
Me too. So I agree with that.
She was shielding her sisters.
It's upsetting. It's really upsetting.
Two huge steps have been resolved: arson and death at the hands of another, 4 homicides. So this is not being looked at any longer as a accidental or mistake or whatever. So uh, that lends now towards. I'm wondering if the state police have a strong suspect or suspects, and there's
Yeah.
certain things in this particular homicides that they have to really protect. Just like Delphi, and I go back to that. I told my wife from the minute I heard that case, that's somebody that's probably armed, that's somebody that has probably killed before or has been involved in sexual events. Because to control two kids, I don't care how scared you are. If there's a weapon and if you run, I'm going to do something to this child. I just think you don't go from zero, and it's not impossible, but you don't go from 0 to 2 kills just on a by gosh and by golly. You've been thinking about this, you've done stuff in your past, and I'll bet you it's going to come out eventually. And I don't know this, I'm just doing my little deal in my
Mhm.
head. That's how it's going to come out. And
Yeah.
this is a case of extreme violence. This seems to me to be a case of revenge. I don't care who I have to kill to get to the target that I want. Do I
Right.
think the 4 kids were probably the target? That's up for debate. Realistically, I would say probably
Who
not.
suffers
It
the
was
most?
probably
The
somebody else
parent.
in that house, and I want to do something to you, and I'm so pissed off. I have revenge so much on my mind. I don't care how many I have to get through killing to get to you, my target. So
Um,
to go again from 0 to this, I think you're going to find that it's going to be somebody that has a lengthy criminal history, somebody that has violence, domestic violence, women beating, child
right.
abuse. There's going to be a lot of that.
Yeah, I've looked at like some of the profiling of arsonists, which is very interesting because it's really detailed. It's like serial killers; they really have it detailed. But I have a question about the other ISP investigator, Stephanie Thompson. If you're familiar with
That
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 case,
that
you want
won't
to
be for
comment?
me.
What?
I said that one wouldn't be for me. I don't even know who that is. Like I said, I have
Oh,
very
fill
little
him in,
paperwork,
Meow.
so I don't have.
Fill him in.
Yeah,
Definitely. She was LE. They killed her
yes,
too.
she's law enforcement.
Somebody.
She was actually a sergeant with the Indiana State Police. She actually conducted most of the polygraphs for this case between 2018 and 2019, and she died in a house fire February 2022, right in the same circumstances around 3 a.m. And it was so demolished, the home, that the ATF was never able to determine an origin. But no 911 call was made. And this is unique because this happened with the Flora fire as well. The power went out before.
See, what I'm trying to determine for sure, me and Meow talked, is a lot of times the power will go out during a fire. A lot of times it doesn't. A lot of times we got to call the power company. So you'd go where I'm going, Tim. So is this, and we'll talk about the statistics. If someone brought it up in the chat, Meow has that the death rate for children in Carroll County is
So
like
high.
200% more. But is the lights going out? Is that signature or is that MO? Are they attacking the electrical system somehow? Let me tell you this. There was a witness, and we'll get you if you don't have the some of the police interviews. There was a witness named Virginia that came in, and her name's out there. I won't give you her last name. And she said that she heard the owner, Adam Ayers, brag about stuffing paper in electrical junction boxes and starting
Virginia
fires.
Meow. Sorry.
Yeah, she went to the police and told the police that. So
Second, yeah. First tip. The first
yeah,
tip that
that's what's
came in.
making me think with the electric, like, so you can make you can light electric on fire and make it look electrical, but to burn something that down, that house in Monticello was a nice home. That amount of fire and that amount of heat, I don't know if that could just be electric or not. So is this something that they're doing, that they're killing the power first because these people maybe have fire alarms and they don't want the alarms to go off? But a lot of times when you kill power, it notifies the companies. that they lost power or something like that. So I'm not sure, but Meow, you're going to have to send the data to Tim because it is overwhelming and unbelievable the amount of
It's
deaths that happened in Carroll
unbelievable.
County from fire. It's crazy.
I
Now,
can just name the Abbott home, the like the Shockley home, the other Wagner home. Those are two, like
Yeah.
within Flora itself, we got like 9 children within like a
Yes.
10-15 year period.
now, Meow, do you have all I have and was able to send to Tim was partial documents from the transcripts of some of the interviews, in particular Gaylin's. I only had a few pages of it. Do you have the whole thing?
You should be able to find it on the website. There's going to be the interview with Josh Ayers. There's the interview with Troy Helderman. Now, if you go onto the Reddit page, we are like working on transferring all of those documents over that are complete. But those are all from the civil case. Yes, and those have been disclosed by the civil case. We don't get anything from law enforcement for the most part. So yes, those are as complete as we can get on the Reddit, and we're just trying to transfer it all over to the website.
I could send you some stuff, Ruck, too. That's based. It's kind of that's where Virginia's in there. A acquaintance Gaylin gets interviewed there, and it's really cool, Timmy. Have you ever heard of this? Have you ever heard of a fire investigator or a fire official being in on a police criminal interview? Because that's what happened here.
Well, that in and of itself wouldn't mean a whole lot because the interviewer, the police officer, is trying to gather as much knowledge as what they possibly can, and that in and of itself wouldn't rise to a level that would make me be real suspicious of that. Now, if you told me whoever the person was Mirandized and then asked, then we got a whole different game.
Well, what if they had a lawyer present for 3 or 4 days of questioning? That sounds like they were Mirandized.
Well,
Yeah.
not necessarily. You can ask for an attorney and not be Mirandized. I'm 3 or 4 days. Are you saying they interviewed this guy 3 or 4 days, like over the course of the? Obviously, they didn't go, 72 hours, but over the course of days, they interviewed just that person or other people.
Just this. Well, we know who this guy is. We know why he's a suspect. But yeah, he was definitely interviewed for 3. He was interviewed October 14th through the 19th, and that was paid for with county money. But yeah, it was their fire chief.
That'd be real interesting.
Now, Tim, who would?
Here's.
Go ahead, Tim.
Go ahead. Okay, here's what I'm looking for. I want, and I don't want this, like I'm in charge. I'm not in charge of nothing. I'm just saying what I would want is as much paperwork, fact paperwork that we have, you guys have, whoever has, that I can put a book together and I can go through it and go, okay, this is my number one person. I got to talk to this one. Then I would like to talk to this one. And if I can't, I have a way of doing things, and I'm old school. I don't want to text. I don't want to hear about it over the computer. I want to see your body language. I want to talk to you face to face. I want to know what you're about. And to be able to do that, I have to have as much stuff as I possibly can, every piece of paperwork that everybody's got, so I can look at it and put a game plan together and then talk to you guys and go, okay, if you guys want me involved, here's what I would do. If you don't want me involved, here's what I still think needs to be done. So that's where I'm helpful. And I'm not that far from Flora. I don't know, 80 miles, 90 miles, whatever. Look, I'll talk to a wooden Indian. I don't care as long as I get what I want.
Here's actually one thing I'd love to ask you. This is, I've just noticed from, again, it's the fire report. Totally recommend you read it. It's sort of long, but looking at the footnotes. their interviews, you can see that there's certain interviews. There's interview with Gaylin Rose, December 13th, interview with Gaylin Rose, September 25th, like all these interviews. But then there's a few people, specifically the individual who, I don't know if you know, but I'll just tell anyone who needs to, who might not have heard, that the landlord was called 6 minutes before 911 was called, that there was a fire. That's obviously big red flag, right? So obviously he was interviewed, and you can see that his name comes up with ISP 00 ISP interview, like ISP 000084 for the landlord. Now for the neighbor that called him, interview ISP 00088. Are those suspects? Because that's not coming up when for any of the interviews of Drew Yoder. It's not coming up for any of the interviews of Gaylin Rose. It's not coming up for any of the interviews of Josh Dysinger. It's only coming up for these specific people that have been interviewed, especially about Mr. Ayers received a call from Miss Ayers at 3:28 a.m., which is approximately 6 minutes prior to Carroll County 911 records reporting a call from Miss Ayers to report the fire. As Mr. Ayers was getting ready to leave his house, he heard the report of the fire and the address of his property at 103 East Columbia Street confirmed on the scanner. So these things are just like details, but they are putting and citing ISP 000XXX.
Well, you got to deal in facts. There's no doubt about it. And the more information that you have that I can get to, the better. That's just the way these things are conducted. And I'm sure I would want to, if I would want to talk to Gaylin, and see who was in the house, what issues, if any, were there, any ex-boyfriends, any ex-husbands, any ex-girlfriends, anything that rises to the level.
That police report then. It's with her. Her ex-boyfriend is interviewed in the Flora police report. We have that on the website as well. We just put that up.
We'll send you everything we got, Tim. Everything we got.
He's interesting. He's by no means like I know that, like, I mean, he's been a suspect since early on.
He lies in the interview multiple times too, and they never pin his pelt to the wall. I know that they know that he's lying, but they kind of let him go, in my opinion. But we'll send it all to you. I would be interested to see what you think about that Colton interview, Tim.
I could even read some of that, but I know that I don't want to use up your time.
It'd be better, like let him do like his police. And you said you don't talk on the phone, you don't do emails. Well, there was an old retired guy that retired here, and he was like, I don't talk on the phone to anybody. I do this. You know why? And he used to say, because I'm natural police. So that to him was like the biggest compliment you could give someone. This person's natural police. So, Tim, you're natural police. There you go.
Well, I get called a lot of things, and that's usually not it. Most of them begin with a mother. But hell, I thought yesterday was my day, Mother's Day, because I've been called mother so many times that that's okay.
I have too. And Tim, if you like, I don't mind at all. If you want people to send the stuff to me, and then I can send everything to you, so you're not getting bombarded from 20 different directions, I'm okay with that as well. I'll forward it to you. If you want.
Whatever you get, I want. And paper copies, whatever it is, I want. And I'm willing to throw my hat in the ring and help you guys. And please trust me, I'm not looking for trophies. I'm not looking for the Policeman Hall of Fame or,
no one's looking for trophies
I'm sorry?
No one's looking for trophies here.
Yeah, you're in the right group, Tim. You're in the right group then.
No one wants you to be looking at this case. That's the thing. Why?
Well, when you hear stuff like this, there's just a certain level that it just, you can go all Dr. Phil on it and all that kind of shit. I've got a PhD, but it's in street. That's where my PhD is, in street, not from a campus or anything like that. I'm old fashioned cop, that I get things by talking to people. That's how you find things out. A lot of these things are not big mysteries, and I don't want to go off on theories and possibilities and could be's and mights and maybes. I want to see, hear, taste, smell as much as I possibly can, and then go, okay, here would be my course of action, and here's what I would do. I'll go anywhere. I'll talk to anybody, and that's what it's about. And like you said, I don't know Gaylin. I wouldn't know if she punched me in the face, but I know
Well,
she's
you
a mother of
should
lost
watch
babies.
her. She's very she's actually really found it very healing to talk about her babies, and I think that that's been really good for her. She really enjoys it, but I think that almost the investigators don't get along here. I think that's been really clear. At least Coach Kev and I have always talked about that. They jurisdictional, oh, they can't, and they just have a lot of trouble.
There's also beefs. There's a big beef, and I can tell you this: when Yoder's there and he calls for an additional fire department before the Delphi or before the Flora Fire Department calls for mutual aid, he starts a second fire department. In the world of fire departments, that's a huge no-no. And I know that you're going to say, "Well, what's going on? There's girls dying in the house." I understand that, but to a lot of these guys, it's about their fiefdom. And I'm not knocking volunteers at all. But most of the time, you see that in a volunteer place. We're a paid department right here. We could be in different communities in 3 or 4 minutes. We are experienced. We get after. We kick people's ass. They don't call us because they don't want us to go there and put their fire out. That's how insane this is. So to me, there's some beef there too. Yoder's a volunteer fireman in a different place. He calls a fire department in before that fire department's home district is there. So as stupid as it is, I'm telling you, it's something else that we have to deal with. And I hope, who knows, maybe eventually I make my way out there and I could talk to people and try to break through some of that, Tim. Not like you are, like with your angle as a cop, but me, like, hey, I'm a friendly fireman. Let's go have a beer and let's talk. And like, I think that by boots on the ground and talking, someone is going to come out. Somebody's feeling terrible about this.
Also, talk to Russell, talk to Rector, who are in the ISP, and they have been like going along one lead of the investigation, but I don't know if they've had blinders on
because Tim, you might have more luck talking to these ISP people than we do because we're just some YouTube people. You know what I mean? And maybe, or maybe they can tell us, what can we do? Well, maybe if they went with this angle and like someone told us something and all of a sudden I got a show out about this, no one knows nothing about nothing, but we're pushing them and helping. But there's just like, give us some communication. What can we do to help other than what we're doing? Or we'll keep doing what we're doing.
And Tim, I totally agree with you about Doug Carter. I really like and respect that man as well. After this case, though, he came out and he said that the girls were not meant to be harmed in this fire. Yeah. And that's always been curious to me. And if you do know him and you get a chance to speak to him, that's something that always it set me back a bit. So if it was an arson, but the girls weren't meant to be injured, but now somebody's going to be charged with 4 cases of murder.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was going to just say maybe what you were going to say, but sometimes that is to get someone to come forward because you're just trying to get that foot in the door.
I agree with you 100%. We don't care if who comes forward. Bobo the clown. I don't care. One of the problems, and Kevin, you know that you've been in the business as long as I have. I don't know why egos get in the way of solving stuff. I told every one of the people that work for me, I don't care if the janitor comes in. I don't care if the professor comes. I don't care who comes in and gives us what we need to. When I say win, that means the answers. You got to have a drive to win. I'm so far removed from, I don't care if you're the hog at the trough with the biggest nuts because you got the stars and the bars and all that. If you don't know what you're doing, you should have enough common sense. If you're a leader, not somebody with just stars and bars, if you're a leader, all you have to say is, Meow, what do you need? What can I do to get you training? What kind of equipment do you need? Kevin, what can I do to get you where you need to go? That's what a leader does. You find stuff, you take care of it, and you're the first one through the door. And this isn't bragging or anything like that. I had 20 years in SWAT, and there's only 2 times that I wasn't first or second through the door. And now it isn't because I want to be a freaking hero or I got an S on my chest. But if I'm going to ask my men, and that's who I had on there. It was all men. There was no women on the SWAT team at that time. To go through that door and they have skin in the game, then I better have enough balls to have skin in the game also. I could have sat in a truck and went, you do it, you do. That's not what a leader does. You got to have skin in the game. And if you don't get pissed off at this thing, what happened? If you don't get pissed off at it and you go, oh, well, I know I shouldn't take this personal, I shouldn't get too excited about it, then you're in the wrong freaking business. That means you go at 5 o'clock, you turn it off, you go, hey, if I get to it tomorrow or not. If you got something, you should be like a dog with a freaking bone. You grab it, you run with it. If you're tired, tough shit, take a combat nap. If you're hungry, eat a saltine cracker and a thimbleful of ice water and keep going. I don't want to hear all that. I don't want to hear, I'm tired. And take that shit home, stick your thumb in your mouth and put your blanket to the side of your face and, have your mommy breastfeed you or whatever you do. I want people that are meat eaters, that are going to push. You do it honest, you do it fair, you do it accurate, and you kick ass and take names. And that's just the way I have to work. And if it deviates from that, then I'm the wrong guy.
Or what if you're going to make some enemies though? Like you're going to be
care.
Well, that's the thing, because I feel like, there were a few things that Gaylin saw, and then suddenly they don't want to talk to Gaylin. Why is that?
I'm going to tell you this. I got enough friends. If I need another friend, I'll get a dog. So if I piss somebody off because I'm pushing and I'm finding out answers, then that tells me it's about the truth. This is all this is about. This is about the truth. I don't care if somebody screwed up out there. Okay, you screwed up. You made a mistake. Let's work through it. Let's find out. But the person that did this is a purposeful act. This isn't an oops, I dropped my lighter on a can of gas and things went sideways. This is a purposeful act. And they have to stand tall for it. And if it means I got to piss some people off or they don't like me, I got to tell you, I don't give a fat rat's ass if they do or they don't.
My kind of guy.
Sounds good to me.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, I got to compliment myself. I've done pretty good. Usually, I can't get out of bed with about 5 or 6 MFs and a couple of regular Fs before I get my rickety ass up. And I haven't even dropped a bomb. You know what? I think I got a pat on the back for that one. It's only going to be me giving it, but that's pretty good for me.
In real life, I use the F word like a comma.
Yeah.
I've been
Well,
told
it's very descriptive.
I've just kind of picked up too much of my dad's slang, so.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll make up for it on a phone call, Tim.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Whatever you guys need from me, you got it. I'm telling you, I'll throw my hat in the ring. Feed me everything you have. Give me every piece of paper, everything you have. I'll look at it. I'll put a book together. I'll analyze it. I'll tell you what I think. And I'm not the know-all, do-all. I have ideas, and I'm willing to share and willing to help.
Right.
That's awesome, man.
Right on.
We'll send you everything we got. Meow's like the gatekeeper of all the info. She finds so much shit.
Gatekeeper, I just throw it all. I'm trying to spew it all out
I
there.
don't
It's
know
like
where you get it from. She
Like,
says to me
what-
anytime, hey, what about, she'll send it to me. So she's
Yeah.
the researcher on YouTube, in my opinion.
Oh God, it's just a lot of information. It's just a lot of civil case documents came out last year. Just so much came out last year. So.
Well, like I said, I'm willing to be the go-between.
Let me ask you this, Meow. With all the knowledge that you have, would it not, I still want all the paperwork, but would it be easier to get a statement from you right over the phone? And, you can break down all the information that you have. Now, obviously,
I'll send you everything, but for sure, I feel like that sometimes there's certain things that I forget to always mention. But
well,
been a whole year.
All right. That's an option. I would have to do an audio recorded statement, and I would have to get your permission. In Indiana, it's a one-party rule. As long as one party knows the phone is, or the conversation is being recorded, it's legal. But if you're in a different state, or you are in a different state, it could be a two party, could be a one party. I don't know, but to cover my butt, I would
Yeah.
always ask.
Right. I'm from I'm from DC, so I kind of I know about that one party consent law, and same thing for us.
You're in what? You're in Washington D.C.
Hmm.
Oh, you're not
Yeah,
even on the same planet then.
I know.
I'm gonna have to look up what the laws are on Venus or some freaking where, because that's not even a
We
city.
don't have any state laws. We don't have
The only law is there are no laws down there.
exactly.
Yeah, I think Watergate changed that whole recording thing in Washington
Yeah.
D.C.
Well, I think on Washington D.C. their motto ought to be, "What's the use of being stupid if you can't act like it?"
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. But all right, Tim, I have your information, and I have Meow's and Kev's, and however you
Okay.
want to get the information. If you guys mind, do you mind if I give Tim your contact information, Meow?
Sure.
And what
You give
about
them
you,
mine?
Kev? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
That way, and like I said, I don't mind being a go-between and a filter and all that, but you guys have everything that you need, and you can go directly through him.
Yeah,
Well, feel
honestly,
free to give my
guys.
What was that,
feel
Tim?
free to give them my telephone number if you want. You know, I cut my phone off at night, obviously, because, you know, I was on call for about 36, 38 years throughout my career between 20 and SWAT and homicide and everything else. So I have a tendency I kind of like my sleep now, so I turn it off because I don't get calls at 3 in the morning from snitches, and, you know, like I did. So I'm real happy with that.
Yeah, CIs are fantastic, aren't they?
We
Oh,
need
I'll
a
tell you
CI
what,
place.
I just had one while back call me from a jail and told me how his brother killed his own 6-month-old baby, and we cleared that case out. And that same guy gave me a child molester, and the same person who was a child molester tried to hire my guy to get his father-in-law and his best friend murdered. So I make my living off of confidential informants.
Absolutely.
Indiana's wild.
Man.
Well, when you solve a cold case like that, but Tim and I talked about that a little bit, and he was on the right track, anyways. His intuition, kicked in. But when this asshole calls, and the guy is an asshole, there's no doubt about it, and says, "I have some information for you, man," that makes your day.
Mm.
That makes your day.
Well,
Informants
but
want
that
something.
therein lies the difference. That's what talking does. That's what building up a rapport does. That's what somebody trusting you does. But you got to shoot straight with them. You just got to be straight up honest. Here's the way it goes. I'm talking, you're listening. And I want you to understand, if you lie to me, you go off course, you do anything illegal or improper, I'm not going to prison with you or for you. I will smoke your ass. I don't want to put anybody in prison on anything that is done wrong. If you have information, great. I will listen to it. I'll never send you into a prison or jail to act as an agent for the state. If you hear something, pass it along. You just have to do it straight up, but you also have to let them know you will kick their ass through the field goal of life if they try and play with you. And if somebody does, you have to do it. And once they know that you're for real and you're honest, you're straight up, you talk the talk, and you're not, based on a hypothesis, I'd like you to articulate what your feeling is on that. They don't understand that. It's hey man, what the F happened? Stop bullshitting. Tell me what went on. Now I know what you're talking about.
Exactly. All right, guys, we're just over an hour. I know that Meow has a busy day today, and I'm sure Kev does as well. And I don't want to tie you up all day, Tim. I certainly appreciate the three of you coming on. This is for a great cause. We need to get some movement on this case, to be honest with you. Meow, you've been doing a great job. Kev, you're doing a great job. And Tim, we'll get you all the information we can, and you can take it from there.
Thanks, Tim,
Okay.
so much for helping. Thanks, Ruckus. Meow, you're awesome. Order some of them hoodies from Meow. And let's all week we got shit going on, Ruckus. I know this ain't the only thing for you.
No,
We got
I'm
more
in
to
for
do.
anything.
Yeah, actually, I have to
Thank
message
you
you.
for
I have a
having
list
me
of
on and everything.
shit I got to do this week, and I have to add you to it. So we're gonna do something else.
And keep make sure you guys watch and share everything with Gaylin. She gives such great
Yeah.
insight. Every single time I learn something new from her. Like
Gaylin
every single
called last night with Meow for Mother's Day. Go check it out, guys. Really, really good. You'll fall in love with her. You would just fall in love with her as a person. How strong
yeah, she's so candid. She's so honest who she is. So it's really a breath of fresh air, honestly.
Yeah, we need to get her in touch with Tim as well so he can speak with her.
Yeah.
Well, she's a little bit wary around law enforcement just because they switching hands and
we could make
in her like just grief.
She wasn't treated really fairly by ISP at all. She was not treated fairly at all. So she's a little. I could understand where she's coming from, but we'll work on it. And I think if Meow says, "Hey, look, we're working with Tim. We trust him," it'll be okay. But from Gaylin's point of view, I can see why she's distrustful based on how she was treated.
And she needs like a special victims like person or a female to like speak with her. That's what I was speaking with them about. Like you guys need to like meet halfway here, because right now she's so traumatized from things. And you know what? If she's able to talk to me, or she's able to talk publicly better than she is able to talk in a face-to-face interview setting, I mean, why not? I mean, like, why not? Because right now, like you sit her down with, she just goes back to that moment where she was just in horror, in disbelief, so being talked and accused.
Here's the deal. Everybody every day profiles. Do you believe that?
Mm-hmm.
Every time you meet somebody and you shake their hand, you look at them, you analyze them. Man, that's 4-carat diamond ring. He just pulled up in a Rolls, got a Rolex watch, got whatever. Everybody every day profiles. You do that because it's in your DNA. Now, how you treat them after you profile them, that's where you start getting into the problems with ethnicity and religion and all that, and you can really get yourself in a jam. But everybody every day looks at people and goes, okay, here's what I think. Here's what I see. Here's what I'm analyzing, just by self-preservation. Remember, a cop's got to do that in a split second or you get to die. That's how it goes. So I understand her being reluctant, but also understand this. I'm not every cop. I'm not those cops. I'm not that cop. I'm Tim Corbett, and don't judge me based on what they did. Use it as a basis. I get that. Use it as a basis that here's the watermark. This guy hits it, he gets above it, he gets below it, and then make your decision on that. But I can tell you, I will treat her with the utmost respect. I will help her do whatever I would need her to help me get the person that did that and did this. That's something that is going to be a necessity at some time or another. But judge me on what I am, not what somebody else is. That's everybody wants that. I'm sorry.
I think she'll recognize whoever did it. She'll have some sort of familiarity with who it is. So
that would be great.
Yep. Okay.
No.
But some people are just so judgmental. I can tell just by looking at them.
That took a second, but I got it.
But okay, guys. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. I tip my hat to all three of you. I appreciate it. This is a great kickoff to this week. We got a lot more going on. Let's get some justice for these 4 babies. You guys have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, guys. That was a great panel. Good people, man. Good people, good hearts. If you could please donate to the Cash App that I had scrolling on the bottom. I'll also place it in my in my community tab. Let's get this thing buttoned up and taken care of so that Gaylin can get on with her life. You guys have a great day. It was a pleasure seeing all of you. It was nice not having to talk hardly at all. It was fantastic listening to them talk. And I'll see you guys soon. Don't take any wooden nickels. My name is Ruckus. Thanks for hanging out. Please like, subscribe, and share. I'm 10-7.